gozaimasu. Didn't want to let the last Sunday of 2020 go by without, wrapping up. We've been doing Shakespeare therapy, herbal healing, and a weekly wisdom weather report on Instagram Live every Sunday morning. And we got the idea from doing the Urban Tree Festival here on Facebook Live in May. And so we switched it to Instagram, and we do post them here if you ever happen to catch them on our Botanical Shakespeare page. But I'm Garrett Quayle, author of that book. And I just want to recap everything, or just whatever we remember from what we have learned this year from Herbal. We started on the midsummer solstice, and we had our winter solstice show last week, and the rose show on roses and the healing power of roses, inflammation. The scent actually has all kinds of reasons. Everything has a reason. That's what's been so wonderful and so blossoming about doing this show, is showing the connection between nature and Shakespeare, the natural world and Shakespeare, and letting Shakespeare blossom in you. And I have been probably a little pedantic about it, because I want to help you internalize critical thinking, things that we really need. And we know, what we should be doing for our body. We don't know all the things that the herbs do. So one of the things we learned is how good garlic is for the liver, and how ginger, if you have ginger, little piece of ginger a day, or ginger tea, that helps the liver. That mint has a square stem, so you can recognize it if you're foraging it. And lemon balm, because it's in the mint family. Hannah Sylvester, the medical herbalist that we usually do the shows with, also told us how much vitamin C rose hips have. But you can forage rose hips, and they did so in World War II because they needed vitamin C to stay healthy. And so all these people went out and foraged rose hips. We learned about that the rind of lemon and oranges have as many healing properties and healing uses as the flesh and the fruit. Crush and sniff is something that we do every week, along with inspirating and suspirating, because it cleans the internal organs and clears the clouds out of the brain. And then find an herb to crush. You have to crush the leaves in order to get the scent and the oils. And then it's on your hand as well. Rosemary, which you can winter indoors or overwinter outdoors too, is great for the memory. And it's not, Shakespeare says, rosemary, that's for remembrance. He knows what he's talking about in so many ways. And that's why we also do the line of the week, to help you just learn a little bit. There's no downside. There's no downside to learning it, but today is National Fruitcake Day, and maybe Shakespeare is like fruitcake to some. I mean, I hate fruitcake because it's dry and has those gooey, chewy, icky. But I hear that there are good fruitcakes out there, and just because you had a bad experience with a fruitcake or Shakespeare in the past doesn't mean you can't find a good fruitcake or Shakespeare in the present. And because Shakespeare is present in all the growing plants that he populates his plays and poems with, it's a great way to make it very present in you. One of the things I think that we can benefit from is really recalibrating our idea of what's power and what's wisdom. For the longest time, we've been listening to what I used to call the rule of the loud. I did an article about that on HuffPo years ago. The rule of the loud, and to think about more quiet power. And quiet power is wisdom. And I said in I think the show last week, that knowledge isn't wisdom, but knowledge can lead to wisdom. And information isn't knowledge. So it's like information, knowledge, wisdom. So that's the little train. If you want to join us on Instagram every Sunday morning, um, please do. It's fun. We've learned how to dye fabric with onion skins and other scraps lying around from Jennifer Ratcliffe and Hannah Sylvester. As I said, the medical herbalist is qualified to give this medical advice on what the herbs do and also how to forage, being careful with foraging because you don't want to forage stuff that's near pollution or bus lanes or cars or any of that. Wash everything thoroughly, of course. You can cut a chamomile or what you think is a chamomile in half, and if it has a little domed center, that's a chamomile. And that's Falstaff's line about trotting on it makes it grow stronger. And Friar Lawrence's line about how within the infant rind of this small flower, poison hath residence and medicine power. So all of these things do have healing properties for you, but also some of them are poisonous and you have to be careful. Even carrots, wild carrots, you have to be very, very careful about. That could kill you if you eat it. Eat the wrong carrot. But that's a sex joke in Shakespeare. The line of the week, I thought, initially I thought it should be about wishes and resolutions and all that because Friday is 2021 and it has been a challenging year, a difficult year for many, and certainly a year of change and hopefully seeing clearly, seeing what's important. But change is constant. And just a lot of times the changes are subtle, so we don't see them. And then if we don't notice them and things pile up, like in a relationship that's gone bad, we need a big ice bucket challenge. We need a cold water splashed in our face to go, look, you need to look at all the changes that are happening and deal with them. And I personally think that Shakespeare has been around all these many centuries because it helps you deal with them. I I promise you it will do a body good, do a brain good. And that's why I did mention in the episode too, people like No Sweat Shakespeare and the Hark Journal and people like that are helping everyone learn it a little more easily or get into it a little more easily. And also there's a lot of great people doing great works with teaching how you can use nature's pharmacy for your own benefit and take a little sovereignty back as far as your own health, taking care of yourself. Um, like the Learning Academy, the Herb Society of America and the UK, the Herbal Academy, Learning Herbs, lots of different people are doing that. We're putting the Shakespeare and the herbs together and the fruits and the flowers and all that stuff for what I call the Bard's Brain Body Boost, sort of a holistic healing modality. The line of the week is I decided not to go with wishes because that is Shakespeare Sunday on Twitter. If you want to jump over there and see all the wishes and hopes and dreams lines, and I'll be joining in that shortly. But prior to that, I chose a line from King Lear that the fool says to King Lear, which is, "Thou shouldst not have been old till thou hadst been wise." And I think that that's a great line to commit to memory because and people go, well, I'm too old now, but you are always as old as you are. And my friend John Augustine, who's a playwright, used to say, then I picture myself at 90 or 100 and they think, oh, now I'm young. So it's all perspective. It is all perspective. And so you can always accumulate wisdom. It is never too late, and it is never the wrong thing to do. So, and I used to think the line was before, thou shouldst not have been old before thou hadst been wise. But the line actually is, thou shouldst not have been old till thou hadst been wise, he says to King Lear, who did not act very wisely because he didn't really understand what love was. His daughters who told him all this stuff and, very sort of narcissistically, and the daughter who did love him and stood by him and came to help him and save him, he didn't recognize her love until it was too late. Oh, it's so sad. So, see, that's a piece of wisdom that you can learn from that and go, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to recognize the people who love me and whom I love and nurture those relationships. Every Sunday, and we separate the shows, but I smooshed it together today, and maybe the gods didn't like that. But I go to wisdom from the Shakespeare Oracle, that somebody kindly gifted me, and I'm not going to reshuffle and do it again because it was perfect. What do we need to know for the new year? And we got The Fool, Festi, which is just brilliant because it is it's the first, it's like zero. It's like starting at zero. So I'll do this part again, reading this part again. Just, yeah, okay. This fellow is wise enough to play the fool, and to do that well craves a kind of wit. He must observe their mood on whom he jests, the quality of persons and the time. This is a practice, as full of labor as a wise man's art. For folly that he wisely shows is fit, but wise men, folly fallen, quite taint their wit. So balance, humor and wisdom. And there's often wisdom and humor, which is why we turn to comedians so often when we're sort of trying to process the news. Festi inhabits one of Shakespeare's most charming plays. His name evokes festivity. And for the most part, that's the spirit he brings to Twelfth Night, although he has his cloudier moments. He's incisive and sometimes earthy, but never mean-spirited. There's no slander in an allowed fool, admits Olivia. Festi's comments show him to be, second to Viola, the sanest character around, and certainly one of the wisest fools ever created. And nothing that is so is so. And that is a very good line to commit to memory as well, because, you know, we always have to see through the illusion to what's really going on. And sometimes it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of clear vision. Nothing is so could easily be the title of the play, with its disguises, mistaken identities, and interchangeable love and grief. Interchangeable love and grief has also been a kind of hallmark of this year, hasn't it? Nothing much of importance goes on in Illyria, yet Festi finds plenty of material for comment. Foolery does walk about like an orb in the sun. It shines everywhere. Life is short, so you might as well laugh at it. Seems to be his motto. Unlike a clown, Festi doesn't juggle sticks or balls. He is a corrupter of words. He jabs at Orsino's supposed constancy of love. Thy mind is a very opal, and opals are variegated in color. Um, he says, comparing it to a stone whose colors shift with the changing light. He notes that any husband of Olivia's won't find life easy. And who's more foolish, Festi or Sebastian, who marries Olivia moments after meeting her? Illyria may be a fool's paradise, but Festi is nobody's fool. He belongs to no one and nothing, unless it is to this strange little stage world. His songs about romantic love, fleeting youth, and mortality lend melancholy, graceful beauty to the comedy. Music is the food of love, and Festi plays on. So yes, grace and graceful beauty to this comedy. That's another thing that Shakespeare adds a layer to your life. Just having a few lines in your pocket, in your brain, will sharpen those synapses, and it's like a I'm sorry to say it sounds so cliche, but it is like a breath of fresh air for your brain. The Fool stands for an open mind, a fresh perspective, and optimism. So that's what we're going into 21 with. Open mind, fresh perspective, optimism. This card begins the deck but stands apart from the others. Like the Fool's unique position in a Shakespeare play, he doesn't further the action the way he does, but his presence is crucial to it. He has freedom, not power. Within the Fool is the unlimited potential of the human spirit, and he fearlessly sets out with a light heart and quick mind. A light heart and a quick mind. That's another thing that we can all benefit from. Whenever things get sort of knotted and anxiety ridden, think light heart, quick mind. He is unconcerned with failure or trouble. Imaginative and creative, he thrives on variety and lives in the moment, Every day begins a new adventure. He isn't childish, but his enthusiasm and joy are childlike. For good or ill, he embraces life with philosophical equanimity. His mind is open and his motives untainted. He trusts his instincts. And sometimes the fool seems to be the only character who has any. That's a good point as well. The unexpected doesn't faze him, it just provides more material. Like the old proverb that states, children and fools cannot lie, Shakespeare's fools speak the truth, obliquely or straightforwardly. Their sharp wit deflates pretension and exposes shallowness in kings and common folk alike. A fool can be a breath of fresh air, or I just said that, or a frustrating burr, and he's always testing the tolerance of his audience. His exuberance may grate or his words hit too close to the heart, but he's only speaking the truth, and it's hard to stay angry at someone for telling the truth. I hope that's true. If his words seem stupid or brilliant, that probably says more about the listener's intelligence than the fool's. The mirror he holds up reflects all qualities, good or bad. If you see absurdity or greatness there, that's your interpretation. To him, the sublime and the ridiculous are two sides of the same coin. Without a goal or destination, the fool has freedom, but he is still at the mercy of others. So that's also very true of all of us. We're tethered to jobs or responsibilities, families, relatives, but we have freedom, but we're still somewhat at the mercy of others. Festi is someone in someone's employ, after all, and can be dismissed at a moment's notice. Happily, like a vagabond, he belongs every place and no place, and can fit himself to the location as well as to the mood of his companions. Taking a lesson from the fool doesn't mean you need a stand-up routine, just that you try to find humor in difficult times and speak the truth with grace and tact. So find humor in difficult times and speak the truth with grace and tact. So that is Shakespeare's oracle. That's the wisdom there. And then we go to the wisdom of the trees, which I also started with the Urban Tree Festival, but I realized there's more than 30 trees in Shakespeare. And I often advocate, that old 70s thing of going out and hugging a tree. If that's your resolution this year, they they stand for us. They stand for us so that we can breathe. They breathe out so we can breathe in. They are nature's rebreathers. They are the sentinels of health. So, appreciate one now and then. And we got for the new year eucalyptus. We've had this one before. All of the most of the shows are on YouTube, jazzed up by Nikki B, who adds all this humor and recipes. We have recipes for an onion syrup, cough syrup, and metheglin, which is herbs stuffed in your cottage alcohol. Of a sort of cottage wine that made with herbs. It's just delicious and seems healthful. Anyway, alcohol is good for you too, in medicinal doses. So anyway, so the eucalyptus has a lovely message. It is, I am an ancient tree, but I have survived by adapting to my environment. I can show you how to live wisely and honestly by establishing balance in your life and in your attitude to the people around you. Now, eucalyptus isn't in Shakespeare, but it is one of the dominant trees of Australia, where it is believed to have originated over 30 million years ago. It grows so easily in warm and humid conditions that it is often considered invasive. The tree is sacred to many Aboriginals who keep its cultural significance a closely guarded secret. The branches are traditionally used to make a didgeridoo. Eucalyptus has other uses too. The essential oil extracted from its leaves has powerful antibacterial qualities and is an excellent inhalant to ease congestion in the sinuses and chest. So you can get so many, cough syrups and breathing aids with eucalyptus in them. And we did a show couple weeks ago about clove. It has the same properties. You can rub a clove oil on your chest. It's so much better than Vicks Vapo Rub, you know. So there's lots of different ways that nature and Shakespeare and all these people provide for making yourself feel better. The eucalyptus message is try to strike the right balance between overt enthusiasm and lack of interest. Throwing yourself headfirst into a new project seems exciting at the time, but could leave you with little room for maneuver later on. So, balance, grace and tact from Festi, and a light heart and a quick mind, and approaching 2021 with a little gentleness, not diving in. We're gonna tiptoe in on this year and use quiet power instead of loud pounding power. Anyway, this is the last Sunday of 2020. I'm honored and grateful to be able to talk about these things with you. If you have any questions or requests, please let us know in the comments anywhere. And we will go forward with the metheglin, with the dyeing of the clothes, with onion scraps, with the broom girl, how to make a broom out of broom. So lots to look forward to. Lots to look forward to in the coming year, especially taking all our knowledge. Don't forget the line of the week. Thou shouldst not have been old till thou hast been wise. And here we go on another adventure.